We continue in Sefer Ha-Aggadah. We're still in the introduction, and here is another mashal, very interesting mashal, that teaches us about the process of learning Torah and interpreting Torah. It is based on the pasuk in Kohelet. ויותר שהיה קהלת חכם, עוד לימד דעת את העם, ואיזן וחיקר, תיקן משלים הרבה. Kohelet is one of the names given to Shlomo HaMelech. It comes from the word kahal, together, or to put together. So either kahal is an assembly, to assemble. So we assembled a collection or an anthology of words of wisdom that we attribute to him, Mishlei, Kohelet, etc. Kohelet is translated in English as Ecclesiastes, which comes from the word Ecclesia, which means, or Ecclesia, which means...
G or C? Ecclesias, two C's.
Ecclesias, two C's, E-C-C-L, yeah. And it comes from the word Ecclesia, the Spanish for church, Iglesia, come from Ecclesia in Greek, which means gathering. So it's all really, it's the same thing, Kohelet or Ecclesiastes. But the pasuk says, Yoter, vanity or vanity, this is how it starts, right? So it says, not only was he wise himself, he taught people wisdom, and he created many parables. We spoke yesterday about the parable about the mashal, and he created many parables, and the pasuk uses an interesting word, izen. Le'azen in Hebrew is to balance. So why this particular word, the Midrash is going to talk about. Now the interesting thing in Hebrew, it's usually not only the verbs, the nouns also are not just onomatopoeic, not just convention that people decided on, but they go deep into the root of behavior and practice. So the word ozen, or the root aleph zayin nun in Hebrew, means balance, but also means to listen, and it's the word for ear, because we know that the balance, or the body balance, depends on the liquid, right, on the canal between the connect the ears. So ozen and oznaim, balance and hearing is connected. So, but here the Midrash will look into balancing the practice of Torah and learning the knowledge of Torah.
Is that recent Hebrew, modern Hebrew?
No, this is biblical. It's biblical Hebrew. Biblical Hebrew. Yeah.
Here in the Oznaim, we have something that balances.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's exactly the thing. Yes.
Very sophisticated.
Yeah, the Hebrew language is extremely sophisticated. Then we go right. What is this mashal? Like, what are the משלים of שלמה המלך? What did they do? רב נחמן אמר, לפלטין גדולה שהיו בפתחים הרבה, וכל מי שהיה נכנס לתוכה היה טועה. There was a palace, this is a mashal. They all explain Shlomo's work with a mashal. They said that he came to facilitate the Torah learning for people. So Rav Nachman says there was a palace with many openings, many doors, but people would get lost in this palace. They would go in, wouldn't be able to come out. So there was a wise man who took a spool of thread made from reeds, like raffia, and tied it to the door, and showed the way how you go in, how you go out. So everybody followed through the thread, going in, going out. So this is what Shlomo HaMelech did. When עד שלא עמד, לא היו האדם יכול להשכיל דברי תורה, כיוון שעמד שלמה, התחילו הכל סוברים תורה, meaning שלמה המלך facilitated learning Torah for the people. So it's an interesting mashal. So Shlomo HaMelech, this according to this mashal, is like the man who shows the path into the palace and outside and out of the palace. דבר אחר, but it says there's another משל, לחורשה של קנים שלא היה האדם יכול להיכנס לתוכה, there's a there's a forest that people cannot go in, it's too thick, and people get lost. So a wise man took a sickle, the semi-circle knife you cut with to cut the like a machete. So he takes this sickle and he goes through the forest and he cuts and he makes a path. And now everybody goes in and goes out. So you see the two parables, they seem like the same thing, right? So here we see the beauty of the mashal. Because on first sight, what's the difference between story number 1, story number 2? It's the same concept. You have a place which is inaccessible, which is the Torah. There's a wise man, Shlomo HaMelech, who makes a way for people to go in and to come out. So in one story he puts the thread, now the story cuts through the forest. Seems the same thing, but it's not. That's the beauty of it. When you look at the fine details of the mashal, you realize it's a completely different approach to Torah. According to the first parable, the Torah is set in stone. The halachot, the practices, the theology, it's all rigid. You cannot change it. All you need to do is go in and go out. It's like going in even into a dangerous place. A lot of religious people, when they think of halakha, they think in terms of danger. That if I do something wrong, God forbid, I'm going to be punished. If you sit with people who really, actually the more people study, the more they get concerned. I sit with very, very observant people around the Shabbat table, and they feel like they're walking on a minefield. Because what if I take this? Maybe I'm not supposed to do this on Shabbat. So I'd rather not eat, right? This is the reason why the Ashkenazi Jews eat gefilte fish. Because on one hand you have to eat fish on Shabbat. On the other hand, they were concerned about separating the bones from the fish. We say, better let's grind it all together and have it as we save time. It's out of fear. We came up with a nice dish, but it started with fear. So this is how people view the halakha is a little even dangerous. So Shlomo HaMelech.
No, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that. So Shlomo HaMelech, a lot of Shabbat food came out this way, like the cholent is a result of not lighting or cooking on Shabbat. So they would put the food from before Shabbat. Some people didn't want to eat hot food on Shabbat. They said, let us eat cold. The Rabbi said, no, you have to have hot food on Shabbat. Otherwise, we suspect that you're a Karaite who interprets the Torah as no fire should be lit on Shabbat, even from beforehand. So they say, Kol mi shelo ochel hamin, bodkin harav shema hu min. That if one doesn't eat hamin, maybe he's a heretic. So everybody started eating hamin. And the name Cholent comes from the ancient French, medieval French. It means to warm slowly, Cholent. So, right? Cholent, right. So anyway, so this is the the Shabbat foods come from that. So what does Shlomo HaMelech do? He shows the path. But after he shows the path, there's only one way, right? With the cord. You have to follow the cord in and out. You cannot deviate. If you deviate, you're going to get lost. So this is one view of Torah, which is very, very strict, very limiting. Also, the whole idea of this midrash is borrowed from Greek mythology. The rabbis, just a side comment, the rabbis of the who wrote the midrashim and the Aggadot were very friendly with Greek philosophers, and they knew what was going on in the Greek world, and they knew that people are excited by the stories that they hear in these settings. So they used the Greek material and they gave it a new, give it a twist and adopted it for their needs. So what is the story in Greek mythology? There's a famous story about the labyrinth, about the king of Crete who built a labyrinth, and in the labyrinth, which is a maze, in the labyrinth in the center there was a minotaur. It was like a monster that would eat. You would have to give him human sacrifices. People would go in, get lost, eaten by the minotaur, And the only one who was able eventually to go in and out was a man who used that trick. Cord given to him by Ariadne. He tied it to the entrance, went in and went out. Came in and went out. So just interesting. It is that's 100% Greek story that was given a new personality in the Midrash. But so go back to the parable. So the first mashal is the Torah is a palace. It's beautiful, it's magnificent, but it's rigid. You cannot change the palace. You're not going to go in and move wall. It's not drywall, in other words, right? It's built with marble. You're not going to go move in and let me change this room to this room. Let's break a wall. Let's build a bathroom here. No. This is what you have, and you are only allowed to go in and come out. Like if you lived your life without transgressing anything from Torah, you should thank God. Okay. Then the second mashal is completely different. It's the same concept of going in and going out, but it's instead of presenting the Torah as something rigid, it's something organic. It's a forest. It's a place that continuously grows. If you go in with a sickle and you make that path through the forest, people who follow you must follow the path. But if they want to deviate and create a new path, they're allowed. As long as they're within the forest, they could create their own path. It also shows something else, that sometimes you have to be a little aggressive, or to make change. You have to make change in order to create a path. If you always stick to the same path, you could be in danger. You're allowed to make changes, but at the same time, if that path that the first person created will not be used, if people will not follow him, then in a couple of years, it will become covered with vegetation again. So the second mashal, even though it looks very similar to the first one, it's a completely different point of view. It's the Torah as a dynamic process, which in reality we know it is. Any halakha that you look at, you realize that our forefathers did not keep the way we do today. There are many changes, some more subtle, some more evident. For example, when you look even in the laws that we are practicing in the current period, which is the 9 days, it's going to start on Friday, that of eating meat or not eating meat. Like Sammy mentioned, some people don't eat meat the whole 3 weeks. Some people don't eat the 9 days. Some people don't eat only on the week off. If you look at the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch, both of them say, they mention it as a minhag. It's a minhag not to eat on one of these periods. But Shulchan Aruch says the real prohibition is on Seudah Mafseket. In Shulchan Aruch Siman Taf Kuf Nun Bet, Saif Aleph, he says, Seudah Shemafsik Ba, on the Seudah, which is after midday, if you eat after 12 o'clock on the eve of Tisha B'Av, don't eat meat, don't have wine. If you eat in the morning, you can have it. But some people have the minhag not to, right? But we deviated from it. People had a minhag not to do melacha. On the other hand, you have the other side, the flip side of people being more lenient, where in the past people used to do nothing on Tisha B'Av. In most communities, people would on Tisha B'Av sit and do nothing. But in some Moroccan communities, Tisha B'Av midday, right? If Ahari Hatzot, the women start cleaning the house, washing the floor, as if they washing the sadness the morning away. They came to Israel. A lot of rabbis was, no, it's not a good practice. It's.
Are you aware that the Moroccans, after the fast, have a beautiful table with cake? But do you know why?
No. I'm listening.
Because of Shabtai Tzvi. Because of Shabtai Tzvi, one of the rabbanim of Shabtai Tzvi was a Moroccan.
Hayun.
I don't remember his
Nehemiah Hayun.
I remember personally, after the fast, there was a beautiful table.
Because they believe that Geulah already came.
I never knew why until this writer, Yosef Toledo, who came to Magen David about 25 years ago, and he explained to us why it came from.
So this is an example of a change. Shabbatai Tzvi was a false Messiah. People believe that he already bring the Geulah redemption.
And the Moroccan followed him.
And all over the world.
One more thing you have to learn. Outside the synagogue, there were merchants of toys on Tisha B'Av.
Yeah.
So I asked my father, why toys? Like that, the little boy will buy a toy, it will break and he will cry.
So they would sell, cheap merchandise to begin with.
Yeah, cheap.
Right. Interesting. No, but the idea that Shabbatai Tzvi affected, and changed the practice in many places is clear. Not only in Morocco, you had it also in the Netherlands, in Turkey, in the Syrian community until today. Kabbalat Shabbat is shortened. They skip a couple of verses. They don't say "Tna'ari ma'afar kumi," shake yourself and rise from the dust, because they believe that that already happened. Right. On the other hand, the Mi'ir Ratzon that we read on, that are in the Sidurim, Bet Oved, Bet Menucha, and made their ways into the Sephardic Mahzor, the Mi'ir Ratzon, when you open the Echal, the special Mi'ir Ratzon for Rosh Hashanah, Kippur, and the 3 holidays, are from the book Hamdat Yamim that was written by Natana Azati, the Talmid of Shabtai Tzvi, they're filled with distorted Kabbalistic concepts and things that should not be said. But this is also negative influences. The other things are dynamic in the sense of the times change and people change with them. And sometimes you have to realize that if you live in the same manner, even the you can't do it. Even the Hasidic groups that say we have to adhere to the way our forefathers dressed, right? So they go with long coats and on Shabbat with socks, white socks up to the knee. They're thinking it's like German choir boys or something like that. It really looks strange. So say, whose traditions are you keeping? It's not your forefathers. It's not Avraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. It's not the people from really the way our forefathers dressed. It's the way your ancestor dressed 100 years ago, 200 years ago. It always changes, but people are not willing to acknowledge that. Anyway, this is the second mashal. So one mashal is rigid Torah, in and out. The second mashal is the Torah is more flexible, and you could keep on changing. Things keep growing, and this is really the Torah. Every generation comes with new ideas, new concepts, new challenges, and you have to keep addressing them.
But it's only after the fact that you know whether it took or not. Is that right? Because there's no judge that says in that mashal. There's no judge that says you can go on the path. You can start.
Right.
It's only
if you get stuck. Right.
It's only in retrospect you say, then.
Right. It's true. Interesting. That's an interesting insight. If you try to create for yourself a path and it doesn't work, then you realize in retrospect I did wrong. So you need a guide, but the guide in this case is Shlomo Melech says there's a way to do it. So the way to do it is, unlike the first one, which is it's already set for you, you have to take the sickle, right? And you have to look at the forest and you have to decide which is the right way to go. And that gives, at least the learned people, the power of creativity to decide we have to, let's say, make a takana, make a decree, or make an amendment to the law in order to make it livable and helpful for people.
Otherwise,
Right. So there are 3 more examples in the mashal, but we'll analyze them tomorrow because it's a long discussion. And Be'ezrat Hashem. Amen. Yeah.